and Todd from Love First 365. We've been married 33 years, July 4th. And we want to just give you a few tips on how we stayed married because it wasn't easy, guys. What is your first tip?
First tip, you have to die to yourself.
Mm. So for us, we had to really realize that it wasn't about what I thought, what I wanted, and it wasn't about what he thought and what he wanted. It was about a partnership. For many years, I lived in a my own world because of my own thoughts from growing up and all of that, and I had to start trusting him to partner with him instead of doing it my way, thinking about it my way, being my way. I had to change my mindset on what this really was, which was a partnership.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that we have to realize it's not about being right. It's about doing what's right for the partnership. It's not about my way or your way, but it's like what's best for us as partners in this thing called marriage.
Yeah. And in our 33rd year, we have some challenges, I would say, that's going on that we've never experienced before. And I thank God for the growth that we have had because we now are tackling it together. He's not doing it in his mind, in his man cave, shut down, and shut me out, which I used to actually think was personal. He doesn't do that anymore. He now shares with me. We talk things over. But there was a time where he would have to process things and he would shut down. And it really wasn't him shutting down, it was him processing things. But I took it personally. One day I remember the Lord saying to me, "This has nothing to do with you. Let me show you how to pray for him through this time. All it is him processing." And I was so glad to hear that because I took it personally every single time. What else do you think helped us?
Well, I think also you realized, and we both realized that whenever you give me an opinion, I don't have to say, well, that's wrong, that's against me, or whatever. I think it was just that we both realized that we both brought different thought lives to our relationship. And we had to take the best of our thought lives and put it together to come up with the right solution. And it wasn't about, like, I think for me, sometimes I wouldn't come to you with things because you're going to be like, well, that doesn't make sense. That's dumb, right? And I'm like, well, it's not dumb because, I have a degree in finance and I understand money, or I understand this, or I understand that, and this is how this should be. Whereas you're a creative, right? And I'm more logical. You think very different, very out of the box, which is nothing wrong with that, right? But in the past, I would look at that and be like, man, that's just this dumb. Why would anyone think that way? Why would someone do that? But I realized that your way was just different. There was nothing wrong with it. And you realized my way was just different. It was nothing wrong with it. And how do we marry those together and make the best
Yeah,
solution?
I think that we had to realize that we are one and we are doing this thing together, that we're not against each other, that we're for each other. And it was something that I think a lot of marriages come with, that when we're different, we don't celebrate the differences. We fight against the differences. And I think that is a big deal, that couples realize, I love him and he loves me. Why would I think that he is against me?
Right.
And why would
unless you really are. And the reality of this is that we've been married for a long time. But what I realize is that our marriage was not as strong as we thought it was. Because if we can't come to each other and resolve conflict and talk through things as friends, which is what we should be, right, then what we're really saying is that, man, this relationship is not strong enough to handle a deep, intimate conversation,
Hard
right? And
conversation.
we've been talking about intimacy, and it takes a deep level of intimacy to have conflict. And if you have real intimacy, and again, there's multiple levels of intimacy. It's not just about sex. But if you have a real deep level of intimacy, you'll be able to sit down and talk things through with understanding,
Yeah.
and come to some resolution.
I'm so happy that we've been together this long. One thing in my mind I never had was divorce. I didn't come into the marriage even haven't ever experienced divorce. So divorce wasn't an option for me. However, Todd's family, he had both his mom and dad have been married 3 times. So to him, he could flight, he could leave, and that was something he thought was an option.
Absolutely.
And so,
Why would I stay? Why would I stay and listen to someone beat me down or tear me down when I
Right.
feel like I'm trying to, right? And that's how a lot of us think, right? But when you get married, you're entering into a covenant, and that's something that's not broken. And just like you can't take 2 eggs and crack them and scramble them together and then separate them. That's how marriage is really designed. And so for many of us, we don't understand this concept, right? And we spend all this time planning a fabulous wedding, getting married, doing all of these things, but we don't spend the time that we need really cultivating what marriage and what covenant really looks like.
and we really did have mentors in this thing. We didn't try to do it alone. We definitely had checkups for marriage maintenance. We would go to them when we were having conflict. We had somebody that's been married double our marriage life to help us in marriage. It's no way you can do it by yourself. And so many couples don't take it as priority to get help or to get maintenance. And that's something that we do, and we think we do it really well. So if you ever need any help with your marriage, if you ever need any premarital counseling or individual counseling, we're here to help you. We are Ingrid and Todd Pickett at lovefirst365.com. You can book a free consult there. But you know what? I am so grateful that we did have the help that we did, so that we did stay married for 33 years, that we had to come up out of ourselves, because I believe that God puts his finger on our hearts when we're married. He digs out what we can't use as a couple and what he can't use as an individual, so that we can grow and get better and better and better. And thank God he did that, and he still does that every day for us, and we are grateful. I love you, honey,
I love you too.
and we will see you guys later.